Oh yeah, Pac Man World is back, in the form of a remake that, although may not be as memorable as the original game, does make justice to it, and even adds a lot of cool stuff to it. Pac Man World is one of my favorite PS1 childhood games, and I like going back to it every now and then for nostalgia's sake. So when Pac Man World Re-Pac was announced back in June, I was extremely happy and excited about it. Even from the trailer, you could see that this already had some quality of life improvements over the original game. But now the game is out and I beat it on stream, so I guess I can say something about it, so here it goes. I should also mention that apart from reviewing the game, I will point out significant differences this game has compared to the original version, because these are worth talking about. Pac Man World Re-Pac sees Pac Man in a remake of his first ever 3D platforming game, Pac Man World, which was released almost 23 years ago at this point, and again is a game that is near and dear to my heart. Here, we see Pac Man having to rescue his family and friends after the ghosts capture them, and Duckman, the main villain of the game, decides to, for some reason, throw a party pretending to be Pac Man, because as we all know, Pac Man and Duckman are like two drops of water. And it's up to us to rescue our friends and defeat Duckman, probably the most cliche plot in a platformer. But I promise you the plot is just a minimal part of this. We need to travel through 5 different worlds, which are the Pirate, Ruins, Space, Funhouse, Factory and Mansion worlds, each one with 4 levels and a boss battle, and also get a key which will be hidden in a level in each world, and rescue one friend, also per world, with said key. This will be necessary overall to beat the game, because if you haven't rescued all of your friends by the time you beat all the levels, you won't be able to get to Duckman. Or so I thought, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. Our journey starts in Buccaneer Beach, a tutorial level which shows us the basics of the game. We need to make our way through the level eating pack dots and ghosts, butt bouncing, rep rolling, pressing buttons, etc. And the first significant change is actually at the very beginning, when Pac-Man eats a power pellet, which is a special object that lets Pac-Man eat ghosts that you can't actually attack in any other way. And while in the original version, once you eat it, you glow while being in your normal size, in the remake you actually become a big Pac-Man head. And not just that, but you also get a unique interface and music. It is also worth mentioning that, unlike in the original, you can go through platforms that allow you to not fall down while being a giant head and eating ghosts, which definitely makes this feature a lot more fun. Pac-Man himself has also a brand new movement mechanic, which is hovering for a brief moment while being in the air, which I guess will remind people of how Yoshi hovers in Yoshi's Island. I personally didn't really find this that much useful, and I played mostly without actually using it, so I'm indifferent about it, but I still thought that was worth mentioning. Either way, this tutorial level also introduces us to another interesting change, and that's the way the buttons we bounce on work. For instance, the blue buttons are now numbered, which indicates us that there's an order in which they must be pressed, and the yellow buttons have a Pac-Man pattern, which are related to pack dots, power pellets, and ghosts. The green buttons, however, remain pretty much unchanged. And speaking of unchanged aspects, things like the butt bounce, ref roll, the steel ball, collecting fruits to unlock doors, and the effects of the buttons are exactly the same as the original. But yet another change from the original is that once you reach the end of the level, instead of being greeted with an Namco golden coin that you will get in order to finish it, you'll encounter a giant Duckman statue that you'll have to destroy to get a red coin with a Pac-Man father in it, instead of a Namco coin to beat the level. The slot machine at the end is also kinda different. For instance, you can now collect special coins that will serve as tries for you to use said machine. But anyway, after this tutorial level, we are sent into the hub world, and it has been completely changed, with us having world 2 and 3 on the left and right respectively, and having to go up once we've beaten those 3 worlds to progress, as opposed to us having to go right all the way in the original. And once we enter the next level, Corsair's Cove, we are introduced to even more new mechanics, such as a control change in the way Pac Man swings underwater, and also metallic enemies that are only beatable with the effect of the steel ball. The mazes that you can access by collecting a Galaga logo and then unlocking a door with said logo remain pretty much unchanged. Of course, you will also become a giant head when you collect the power pellets in said maze. One thing that I also realized in this level is that Pac Man moves a lot faster than in the original, which is pretty cool and makes it more dynamic to go through a level and do platforming. As for the keys, all of them are now behind a door that is locked and will need to collect a fruit with a ribbon to unlock. I will also say that some keys, like the one in the Ruins world, are a lot easier to get than in the original. It's also around here where I struggle while platforming in a level, and after a couple times dying, I got the option to turn easy mode on. And this mode basically makes life easier for the player by putting up blocks that will keep the player from falling off while platforming, with the condition that the score won't be considered for the player's best record. In my opinion, this mode is perfect for people who could have a hard time platforming in these levels, but I personally decided to play most of the game without it. Overall, the platforming in these levels feels pretty great to perform. I personally felt like I was breezing through the levels with the way it was faster to move. It's not like it adds too much, but I still really enjoyed that aspect. The levels in this game are composed of different kinds of enemies, platforms, obstacles, and many more things that can vary depending on the world you're in. Even the ghosts can spot unique outfits depending on the world, which I thought was amusing when I first played the original, and I'm glad they kept that for this game. As I said before, there's boss battles at the end of each world, and even though some may seem similar, for the most part they are pretty much different. For instance, both HMS Windbag, Anubis Rex, and King Galaxian are pretty much the same with some changes applied to their fights that range from mechanics to the way the stage is designed. But then we get into the three bosses that are left, which seem to be completely changed from the original. Clown Pre is still a race boss fight, but you now race in first person as opposed to third person in the original. The controls feel more tight and solid, and you can now use your turbo by pressing a button instead of having to collect a power pellet, which you can still do in the remake to get a satisfying extra boost. Chrome Keeper fight is completely different, as opposed to having to press switches while in steel form to make boxes fall into Chrome Keeper's head to deal damage, while at the same time being careful that the magnets don't get us and throw us into toxic waters. In the remake, we are in a giant treadmill where we need to destroy chests that have a steel ball that we need to use to repel into him to deal damage, making this fight significantly easier, as we can also hit him twice in a single time. The toxic waters are still there, but they are behind us, meaning there's no danger for us to be thrown in there. And of course, Pac Man, who we reach after beating all the levels and rescuing all our friends, is a brand new fight, this time with three phases. First, we just have to repel into him while avoiding projectiles. Then he turns into steel, meaning that we'll also have to do it in order to deal damage. And finally, he turns big after eating a power pellet, in which we need to attack one of his feet and then climb up to him and bounce on his head 3 times. In this phase, he also charges around the whole level, and I don't know about you, but I personally couldn't get through that specific attack without getting damage, so that was kind of annoying. Once Pac Man is defeated, he's revealed to be a random ghost that was jealous that Pac Man never let the ghosts win. And here's a change in particular that I found really amusing. You see, in this remake, he still shows his disappointment over the fact that ghosts never win, but he also apologizes to Pac Man for kidnapping his friends and family, and he actually forgives him, and everybody ends up happy. But in the original, Pac Man shows no mercy and straight up pulls out a power pellet and it's this ghost. Amazing. Also, side note, I was just reading about this change while writing the script, and turns out this bad ending is still in the remake, and it gets shown if you don't rescue the family members before going to Pac Man, which is something I didn't know because I rescued all the members before fighting Pac Man, as I assumed you still needed to do that in the remake. but I guess not, so that's another thing that's easier for new players. By the way, this ghost will later be revealed to be named Orson and will become an ally in Pac Man World 3. Just throwing a fun fact out there for those who don't know. Anyway, after this whole scene, we get a brand new credit scene, which I personally thought was pretty cool and wholesome. We go around in a side-scrolling maze that keeps changing themes, and we collect letters that make up the message "Thank you for playing," while an upbeat song called "We Are Pac Man" plays in the background. It's pretty catchy. But yeah, overall this is a solid remake. As I said before in my Clonoa remake first impressions, I'm not really a fan of when a remake is just the same game with better graphics. So the fact that Pac Man World Re-Pac has significant changes is not only appreciated but also makes for a better and more unique experience. I wouldn't say this game is as iconic as the original one, but it definitely did justice to it and made it a cool game to go through, and I will even say people who have never played the original before could find this one a little bit more accessible. Not that you shouldn't play the original if you have never played it. In fact, you should if you wanna appreciate this game a lot more. Just saying. So with all of that, I'm gonna give this remake an 8 out of 10. Anyway, that's my review of Pac Man World Re-Pac. I hope you enjoyed, and I also wanna mention that all the gameplay footage you saw here is from my Twitch stream, both the original and the remake. So if you wanna follow me, I will greatly appreciate it. I stream almost every day, and yeah, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye! Hey, thanks a lot for watching this video. If you enjoyed what you saw, make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel. This motivates me to continue doing this type of content. Believe me, it does take effort, so support is greatly appreciated. I also stream on my Twitch channel, usually on the weekends, but I will tend to stream after a new video is up as well. So chances are I might be live there right now, so feel free to go and say hi. And finally, don't forget to join my Discord server. We have a small but cool community, and it's also a good place to hang out, so come join us. With that said, thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.